For everybody that's already with us, this is Roofer2Roofer. So we're here to answer your questions about the roofing business and industry. And we have our own questions we can go through, but we always love answering y'all's questions. So please put those into the chat or into the Q&A section in Zoom, and we will answer those. But let me get our questions pulled up. What have you been up to, Scott?
I had a really, really good day today. I went and I took a day off from running business and I went and installed windows all day. And uh, I labor is my therapy. Vacationing's fun, but that's not therapy for me. Like
Yeah.
I'm still chasing my kids around, I'm still making plans, I'm still price conscious of things. You know what I mean? Like there's just things that keep your mind like at a little edge. But man, just labor is like complete therapy, and I needed it. We've had a lot of health issues in my family. My grandma just passed away. My grandpa had a stroke, and both of my parents have had surgery in the last week. Some scary stuff, and it was a much needed day of therapy. So I was by myself, working completely alone. My phone didn't even ring. It was freaking fantastic. It was like, holy shit, I feel better now. So yeah, good day.
That's good.
We
That's
don't really do windows. It's a friend, and
good, friend. Yeah,
one of those deals. But I do know how to do them. I just we don't sell them a lot, but it was a good day.
that's good. Sometimes you just gotta do that like comfort thing, whatever that is for you.
Yep,
And reset.
absolutely.
Ooh, this is a good one. I feel like this is very relevant to what you're just talking about. How can I avoid getting burned out in the roofing business?
Oh, yeah, perfect. What a great question. Yeah, so like I just said, I mean, you got to find something that's your therapy. And I was literally thinking about this on the way home. It's so weird that that's the question that gets asked first. So
Well, I did
I
think
I
about
did yeah,
it.
I did not set out to be a businessman or an entrepreneur even. Like I did not set out for that. That was not my goal when I started this. I know a lot of people that's usually their goal. They have that entrepreneurial spirit and blah, blah, whatever. My goal was to create a really good living for myself that didn't depend on. I got burnt in previous employment opportunities because I didn't have a degree. I moved up the ranks, I hit a ceiling, and it pissed me off because I couldn't go any further without an education. So I
Yeah.
wanted to do something that didn't depend on that. And so that's why I started this. I never started this to grow to what it is. Not that I've got some massive business, but uh, it's on track to be pretty successful at some point, I would think, and it's successful now for me. But that was never my goal. This is not what I love. It's not what I am passionate about. I'm passionate about taking care of customers. That's what I'm passionate about, and I always loved doing the work. I love roofing. I love installing windows. I love building homes and framing and remodeling bathrooms. I love all that shit. There's a huge satisfaction for me in it. Um, that's what I like. I like using my hands to create something and then step back at the end of the day and be like, damn, that looks freaking good. Um, so for me, the business, you get burnt out. Like you just get fried. You get tired of dealing with people. You tired of chasing employees around. I unfortunately just had to let two employees go yesterday. Fucking hated it. Like there's nothing worse to me. I love those guys. They're great people. They just weren't a good fit. It's just not the right time, and I had to let them go. Um, but unfortunately, that's just the nature of the game. So for me, I gotta escape that sometimes and get away from it and just not deal with business because business is not. I do love running my business. Don't get me wrong, I do love it now. But it's because I figured out how to manage it to love it. I freaking hated it for a long time. But now I've found my outlets. I found my ways to escape. I've got a couple things that I do each week when we're home. I try to meet my dad and my grandpa once a week for breakfast. It's like a 2 hour breakfast. You know what I mean? We sit around and talk, and it's just a great escape. And then I've got a group I play golf with on Friday afternoons. So that's like two things I do typically. But obviously, it's been cold. My dad and my grandpa's been in the hospital for quite a while dealing with some stuff, so we haven't done breakfast. And I've just been kind of getting a little bit burnt out. Today, I went and did something I love. I went and put, I don't know, 12, 15 windows in a house today. And I didn't start till like 10 o'clock, but at 4 o'clock when I quit, I stepped back and I'm like, shit, that was a freaking great day. Those look really good. I feel good about it. I got my hands dirty. I accomplished something that makes me feel good. You got to find that escape. That for me, it's labor. I like, give me a shovel. I'll go dig a freaking ditch. Turn my phone off. Put some earbuds in. I'll go dig a ditch for 6 hours. That's fine with me. That it's dumb. My mowing and weed eating. That's like my second favorite thing. You know what I mean? Like if I can go weed eat for a couple hours, I can't hear nobody, can't think about nothing. It's just blank, and for me, it's just a great escape to get away and just be left alone for a little while. So you got to find those outlets. Obviously, most people's outlet is not weed eating or installing windows, but if you find that one thing that just, kind of puts your mind at rest and you can breathe a little bit deeper and be left alone, there's a real beauty to it.
Yeah, I feel that. I think for me that's just hiking. But I think there almost always there's going to be a physicality aspect. Like you need to find something
Yes.
active in order to get out that energy that builds up, Um,
Yep.
yeah, for me it's going on probably a good hike for most of the time. Or hitting the gym, but I think the hike. There's something about being in nature for me. It's like
Yeah.
that connection, that outside, that fresh air, and like this, just like slowing down. It's like separation from all the pressure.
I
Especially
work
when
out.
there's no service. I love going on hikes where there's no phone service.
Yes, that's the best. And that's what, working out's one thing. And I got a gym in my basement. I work out every day. And it's truly one of my favorite parts of the day. I got a sauna, and actually the sauna is like my favorite part of the day. I freaking love sitting in the sauna.
That's great.
But there's a purpose behind it, right? Like when you work out, I've got goals for my workout because I'm trying to cut weight. I've got a jujitsu tournament this weekend.
Ooh, that's
Um,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm pumped, dude. And I'm probably gonna go get smashed, but I'm okay with it. They're not gonna break my spirit.
There you go. There you go.
So
Don't blow your knees out.
yeah, so I've got purpose behind what I'm doing in the gym. I want to go do physicality, hiking or fishing or hunting or labor, of some sort. That's not as purpose driven. I just want to do it because it's enjoyable because I like to do it. I
Yeah.
like working out, but it's there's a reason I'm doing it. I like doing shit that's like I'm just doing this because I want to. I did not have to install Windows today. Like I've got about 50 people that work for me that could go install those windows. You know what I mean? Like there's no reason I had to go do that. But for me, that made it even all the better.
Yeah. Yeah. In a way, I think I feel that same way about well, I think the key there is go do something that you're doing because you want to.
Exactly.
Because yeah, because there's all these pressures, there's all these things that are demanding you to do X and demanding you to do Y, and you need to like do those things to run a business often. But being able to just do something for yourself, even if it like doesn't necessarily look like relaxing. Like for me, one of the most like relaxed or the most like I don't know, relaxing may not be the right word, but like enjoyable things for me, like, similarly to what you're talking about, is like if I go build a little piece of like software or like a feature or something that
Yeah.
nobody asked for it, nobody is like I need this, and I'm just like this should really be in ProLine or even outside of ProLine, like something separate, like, and I just sit down for a couple hours and like puzzle through something and like build a little cool thing. That to me, I think it's there's no physicality. That's why it's not like exactly the same. But I think um the biggest thing is like you gotta be able to take some time and carve out some time. ideally even every day, but if not every day, it's at least every week. You got to carve out a little time that is for you. And I think that like when I find that I don't do that, I end up like subconsciously doing that. I end up like on social media instead of going to sleep, right? Because like, so I end up doing dumb things that are, for me, quote unquote, if I'm not intentional about it. So it's like, I feel like one way or another, you got to have that time for yourself. The question is like, are you going to decide what that is? Or, is your mind going to decide for you?
Yeah. Well, and we even do that when we're traveling. When we go somewhere for a week, my wife takes one day and I take one day. So usually mine's either fishing or golf, and those are the two things I love to do. Fishing would be optimal, but a lot of places you can't fish, so I golf. But that's my day, and then she's got her day. She goes to the freaking spa and gets her nails done, whatever she does, But that's usually how we both get our time, and it works out well. So, but that's the thing. I've said this before, just to answer the question. Finally, after all the rambling, you got to step away from the business. If you're getting burnout, step away. Go on a little vacation, even if it's a long weekend. You've got to step away. Look, if your customers don't get it, piss on them, because this is about you. The only person that matters to the highest level in your business is yourself, because without you, it probably doesn't exist, unless you've built a really big business that has all the team to run it. If you need a break, take a freaking break. Like that is when my business exploded. That's when we went from doing $2.5 million a year to 7. The jump was over the course of a year, and it was because I started taking time away and I started really understand the big picture. And the big picture was I didn't need to be there every minute of the day. I needed to enjoy myself a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I think we've had a couple other people join. So welcome, guys. This is Roofer2Roofer. So we're here to answer your questions. We've got Scott, owner of Rainstoppers Roofing, and also SDR Consulting. And then myself, having worked in the roofing industry for a long time with my co-founder, and then now CEO of ProLine. And so we're here to answer your questions about the roofing business, about the roofing industry. We'd love to hear from you guys. There's a Q&A button at the bottom of Zoom, and then also a chat. So feel free to use either of those. And then, if we don't hear from you guys, we're just going through our own questions that we have pre-written. I don't see anything in the chat or the Q&A yet. So we'll go ahead and do another question of our own. What are the challenges of rebranding a long-standing roofing business?
Well, we did it, and we had a really, really good brand in our local market. What we found this year, so we did it beginning of last year, and last year was tough anyway. Nationwide, I believe it was a fairly tough year. Other than if you're in like a storm market and you had some storms that propelled you, but in retail last year was tough. We made it real tough because we had a really established brand locally. People trusted us. They loved us. We got a ton of referral business, and then we rebranded, and we went to a brand that I do believe it's much more, I don't know, commercialized, I guess. Like it's not, it doesn't sound like a local company. It sounds more professional. It sounds a little bit higher end. I don't know. It's just different, right? But regardless, we definitely saw in our local market a huge downturn in leads. Huge. You have to understand that's going to happen, period. Now, luckily, I believe the move we made, I positioned myself financially in a good enough spot to where I could weather the storm. And last year, after really working hard and letting people know, hey, it's the same company. We're still T-Bay. Like, we're still the same company, same owners, same employees, same everything. We just got a different shirt and a different truck. Nobody owns us. We're not part of any corporation. We're still the same guys that you've always worked with. We're seeing a huge uptick in leads so far this year in these local markets that we've always been in and established in. I think people are really starting to trust that brand again. So where everybody talks about, and I've seen Dimitri talk about, rebranding a lot, it's not a great idea. Like this is not something that you should just go do. You really have to weigh a lot of options. For us, the biggest reason we did it is because we were very dominant in a very small market, super small. Um, I would say we probably own 30% or more of the market share in my local market. We really had a big piece. But we wanted to expand into these bigger markets that are, a couple hours away. I did not feel confident that the T-Bay Roofing name was going to thrive in these new, bigger markets when there's not a soul that lives there with the last name T-Bay, right? So I was very concerned with that. So I thought we needed to make a change if we wanted to attack and position ourselves in these other markets. So we took on that expense, which what we thought was going to be the only expense, and it cost us around 100 grand. So we had about $100,000 in our rebrand. Anybody tells you it's going to be cheaper than that, they're probably lying because it's not like we had some big business before we did it. You got truck wraps, you got shirt. I spent, I think it was $12,000 just in apparel, shirts, hats, hoodies, that stuff. 12 grand. Um, you got all your signage. I've hauled half a dump trailer worth of signage to the landfill. Probably 5 grand worth of signage I dumped, and that's not including the $5,000 sign I had on our shop. Pitch that thing too. That's trash. So anything with the old brand has to go. It cannot stay. Then you've got all your marketing that you got to throw out on social media. You got to run a bunch of, brand awareness campaigns. You've got to do all this stuff to really boost the new brand because now nobody knows it. So we spent 3 months advertising the new brand that it was not lead gen. It was just brand campaigns. So yeah, we had about 100 grand in it. I thought that was the cost. I bet it cost us, and this is just an educated guess. I bet it cost us $1 million worth of revenue. We run a 15%, net. That's $150,000 of net. So that rebrand, I believe, cost us $250,000. I believe that's an accurate statement. So if you're not ready to weather that storm, now here's the thing I want to say. I think this year, I think we're going to go from 7 million to 12 million in revenue. Revenue is not the end of not what everybody focuses on. I get that, but I believe because of the rebrand and the way we positioned ourselves in these little bit better markets, heavier populated markets, with the new brand, I believe that it's going to pay in dividends, and I think it's going to be well worth the investment. But you've got to be able to weather that storm because it was freaking expensive. So just keep that in mind. It's not all about the upfront cost; it's the cost of what you lose in the process too.
Yep. The opportunity costs.
Yep.
Yep. I've seen some rebrands go bad too. I mean, there's John went through a couple of rebrands that did not pan out the way that he hoped they would. And the thing is, like, yeah, I mean, I think the tightest possible budget, you can kind of pull it off for somewhere maybe around 75K in actual cost if you're really cutting corners and you have a really tiny company, like almost like a one-man show. You're still gonna spend like 75K, all said and done. And but then you got to, yeah, so the opportunity cost is going to hit you hard. The other things like you got to be super careful of is you got to take your time picking that name and researching it because there's a lot of things that can go wrong. You can have like once you don't want to spend all that money and then realize like this name isn't sustainable for us. People have trouble spelling it, for example, or there's somebody else in the same market that's name is like really similar, and now there's brand confusion and then potential for lawsuits. There's it's just there's a lot of different things to consider, and it's not a decision that can just be made quickly at the turn of a hat. Like you will regret that if you do it. So it's like definitely something that has to be taken very seriously.
Our rebrand was 2.5 years in the making. So I came up with the name Rainstoppers Roofing 2.5 years prior to pulling the trigger. I was actually, because I came up with the name and thought it was so good that I thought I would build a separate business that was just repairs It was just a straight roofing repair company. That's what it was going to be. And it was going to be called Rainstoppers Roofing. And it had this really cool logo. It was like a stop sign shape with a raindrop. Like it was cool, right? I built a radio jingle. I had all of it. I put it all together one winter. And I shelved the whole thing because I was like, man, my roofing business is just kicking ass. I don't have time to dedicate to this, right? But it was always in the back of my head. Like I always knew that name to me was like, I liked it. I liked the sound. It made sense. It was very easy to spell. It was very easy to search online. And I mean, it's a pretty self-explanatory brand. So, and I don't think it's the best. I think there's tons of great ones out there. But yeah, I chewed on that for a long time. And then when I finally decided that that's what I wanted to do, my first call was to my attorney. Can I use this? And then can I, what's the word? Copyright, not copyright,
Trademark.
trademark. Can I trademark this name? And so before we ever pulled the trigger, I got a trademark on the name. Before we started, actually moving through with the rebrand, we trademarked the name. We did the whole deal. And then we moved forward. So for all you listening, you cannot be Rainstoppers Roofing. It is trademarked. So I don't even give a shit as long as you don't work close to me. But that's the problem. I look in these companies in Columbus, Ohio. There's 20 Buckeye Roofings, Buckeye Roofing and Construction, Buckeye this, Buckeye that. Everything's what? Who the hell knows the difference in any of them? Like that's a terrible brand. You should not be Buckeye something in Columbus, Ohio, because you literally have 20 guys with almost the exact same name. It just doesn't make good sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so much. If you could go back in time, so you did this rebrand. However, if you could go back in time and just start the business initially as Rainstoppers Roofing and not have to go through the rebrand, would you do that? Or do you think it played out the way it should?
I think for me, because of my lack of business expertise, it worked out good because I learned a lot. Like my education is paid in full. And what I mean by that is nobody really taught me this. It was all learn on the fly, like self-taught, figure it out. I didn't get a coach until just a couple years ago. But regardless, most of it was self-taught. I will say if I knew what I knew now, education-wise, yes. If I would have started with Rainstoppers, this would have been a way easier deal. But, I believed that because, again, like I said in the very beginning of this conversation, my goal was not to build a business. I did not set out to build a company. I set out to create a job for myself that made a great living with some flexibility doing what I love doing. That's it. That's what I set out to do. Well, I was the man. I was the only guy that was going to be on the job. Maybe an employee, maybe two, maybe. T-Bay is a perfect name for this. Like I want it to represent me and my family, and I want to do good things in the community, and I want my name on it. I want my name on the side of everything that I do. It just doesn't work when you're going into these bigger markets and doing all these different things, and you're trying to really grow a company. It can. I'm not saying it can't. It's just less likely. It's just much, much more difficult to grow a brand that nobody has a clue what it even means.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. All right, guys. We would love to answer your all's questions. We got our own questions here that we can keep going through, but if you guys have anything you'd like to ask us about the roofing business, roofing industry, please do put those into the chat or into the Q&A at the bottom of Zoom. Next question here on our list is, when speaking with a prospect for a roof, what are the key indicators that they might be ready to pull the trigger and buy?
That's a good question. I don't know. I've been out of the sales game for a while, I guess. No, at the end of the day, when you're talking to them, you're feeling them out the whole time, and trying to understand kind of where they're at in the process. I don't think there's like a single indicator. I think it's more so the conversation itself and really understanding kind of where they're at in their process. So have they gotten other quotes? Is their roof in bad enough shape to need replacement? Like, are they truly a candidate for your service? Obviously, then that makes them, a potential customer. If they've gotten other quotes already, that's great. Now you've got something to work with. Not that you need them to show them to you or anything like that, but okay, well, is my price in line with kind of where your other quotes are at? Yeah, you're right in line with them. Okay, cool. Well, what's holding you up from pulling the trigger? Well, I need some. I want to get another quote. What do you need to get another quote for? You've got three already, and they're all pretty close. I'm telling you, we can get to this thing in the next couple of weeks. There's just a process. There's a conversation to be had, and I think it's just a feeling out of every customer and conversating with them and kind of seeing where they're at in the sales process or in the purchasing process, I guess.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a sales rep, or have you ever talked yourself out of a job that was already in the bag?
Yeah, I got a sales guy that does that sometimes. I don't think I have because honestly, I know when to shut up.
Yeah.
And this is a big problem, and a lot of salespeople do it. My God, I buy cars and campers and shit all the time, and I'm at these damn dealerships and stuff. Furniture is the worst. I'm trying to buy new furniture for my upstairs. They're like chicken hawks, man. They're just like floating around, like waiting on you to like touch something so they can pounce on you. Like, just shut up. I'll buy it off you. You're nice. Like, you're okay. I just quit talking to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like salespeople do that so much. It's like, you already told me about the discount, the promotion, the great financing option. You told me about all the goodies. Let me look for a minute. Let me grasp the situation. Just shut up. And I've got sales guys that definitely could just quit talking just a little bit sooner because you already got it in the bag. You went through the process. You followed the operation that you were supposed to follow, and it's done. You just need to be quiet and let the customer talk. The best thing you can do as a salesperson is ask open-ended questions. Let the customer talk to you, not you talk about yourself and your company. That's literally the worst thing you can do.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. All right, we have a couple questions. I appreciate y'all putting these in the chat. So, question one here, somebody on an iPhone, don't have a name, but have you ever made a commercial, and what do you look for when starting a new marketing campaign?
Yeah, I've made actually I just finished up some radio commercials today, this morning, before I went out to the other job. But yeah, so radio is real easy. Like, I just tell them what I want it to say, and I have a zip file or whatever it is of our jingle, and I tell them like this jingle needs to be in there, and here's the bullet points that the commercial needs to say. So radio is real easy because it's all audio. So they'll take that and then they'll put their own stuff in it, and then they'll send me like 5 to 7 copies of what they think would be a good commercial. I'll listen to them and I'll pick which ones I want, if I want one or if I want three, and kind of run a rotation. Sometimes we'll do that. TV commercials are a little bit different. I actually made one and I never ran it. They came into my shop, did the whole deal. Like, we had the cameras out and stuff, and I could not tell you how uncomfortable I was on camera. It was the most ridiculous thing. I've never felt that way in my life. Like, I sit here and talk to you and know people I don't give a shit. Like, I'll say whatever I want to say and I'm perfectly at home.
Yeah.
There is something about that big bright light and this big ugly camera staring you down while you're trying to like pitch yourself that is super uncomfortable. Now, the people that were doing it were telling me that, told me that I crushed it and it looked awesome and they could really make a great commercial with it. And I'm like, no, you ain't playing that shit. Yeah, no. I felt so terrible in that. There's no way that was me. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that I put out the actual, who I am and the company we are. You're not running it. So, But it's easy. I mean, these companies want to come shoot your commercial. It's not because you're going to pay them ad space for it. Like they'll all, as far as I know, they'll all do it for free. They'll come create that commercial at no cost. You just have to, you know, run the ad with them. So it's pretty easy.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. All right, next question here is from Adam. How do you handle rejection that is driven by high deductibles?
Adam, unfortunately, I don't deal with deductibles or insurance companies. And that's unfortunately, well, that's just the answer I've got for you. Um, what I will tell you, I've got some friends that are in that space more than me. Um, what they've really worked hard on is financing. So again, this is not straight from the horse's mouth. This is second party I'm telling you from. But what I understand, Brian Huff is a big advocate of this, and I think from what I understand, he's really got it dialed in. So Brian basically, they're dealing with high deductibles out in Colorado, and they're fighting that nonstop. So he offers financing for their deductibles. And then somehow he has it worked out to where he plays completely by the book, but he does, there's something with them paying for that project, and then they can recoup some of that cost on the back end of the deductible. I don't know the whole in and out of that, so don't take my word on that entirely. What I would take my word on is get in a good financing program, get these customers financing the deductible. Hell, have them finance the whole job, and I think that's what Brian's doing. They're financing the entire, say, $20,000 project. They've got a $5,000 deductible. They take that $15,000 insurance check. They go on a big badass vacation or remodel their kitchen, and they've got a $20,000 finance bill costing them, $180 a month on a 20-year term with no early payment penalty. So it, we use we've been working with Improvify. I know they're big on Facebook, but I'm here to tell you the platform they've built, we love it. We're getting great rates. Actually, my jujitsu coach, we just roofed his house. He got an 8.4 for 20 years. I don't know that you can get that at a bank right now. Like on a personal loan, on a non no collateral type of loan for a personal finance loan. I don't know that you can get that right now. Like you would have to go home equity line or something like that to get that. So really good payment terms. Their approval rate has been very good to us. And then even if they've got really poor credit, they have options for a buy deeper program that will get you down to like a 550 FICO, I think. So I mean, even if someone's got poor credit, there's still options to get them financed. So I would definitely recommend looking at that.
Yep. Proofify is great. I was also going to shout out for that last question, Blue Collar Media Group, Patrick Carr. That's a great firm to use for video content. And they'll come out. I believe they'll travel anywhere in the country, and do. So I was going to put that in the chat, and do video commercials. You can also use someone local, but they won't necessarily know what's crushing it for roofers. Whereas Blue Collar Media Group, they basically just work with contractors, and especially roofers, so they can really just dial in what's great. All right. Next question here is from Abigail. How do you use AI to streamline your workflow?
Well, I onboard with how do you say it? Alivo?
Alivo, I think.
Alivo or Alivo. It's an AI firm. Great company, really good people, super easy to deal with. I actually onboard with them tomorrow at noon. So I am not currently using AI inside of our, sales or production process, but we are going to, so we're starting with some after hours, like reception type work. Just like we get a text that comes in, it'll automatically respond to it. We get a call that comes in, it'll respond to it, whatever. But I brought to them a production model that I thought would be fantastic if they could figure out, and they said they'd build it for me if I would pull the trigger on it. And what I think would be awesome is AI being able to basically capture photos from company cam through an integration, and every hour take so many new photos from company cam and text them to the customer with a pre-scripted message, so that AI was basically not necessarily a production manager, but kind of like a liaison, right? Like somebody just kind of guiding that customer through the process and making sure they see everything that's happening. So I'm testing with the after hours stuff, and then looking to move forward with some other stuff. They have an AI feature for your website, to where you have a AI chatbot that works really well. That's probably the next step I will take is using that AI chatbot. But yeah, and it's honestly, it's very affordable. For the one feature, the single feature is $500 a month. Um, yeah, I mean, if that AI bot drives one sale after hours, that's, I mean, it literally, our cost of acquisition is higher than that. So it would more than pay for itself in just for one.
Yep. Yeah, they're doing some really interesting stuff. We're going to be doing more integrations with them at some point in the near future for sure. All right, I have another question here. This is from the iPhone person joining us on an iPhone. It says, I'm a young company, Max Roofing in Omaha. Did well last year with the storms. Should I be going full steam into ad spend and marketing? What was your game plan for going into year two?
Yeah, I mean, here's what I would do. I would not go full steam ahead into advertising and marketing. I mean, that can work, but you're going to spend a lot of money figuring out what works. That's half the battle. Um, Find something that's working. Maybe throw a few little tests out. Like for us, the radio worked. AM FM radio worked for us well, so we still do it. But throw some tests out there. Run a few smaller campaigns, just see what seems to drive some traffic, and then double down on that. I would not get carried away though. In your second year of business, we do it. We're 10 years in business, and this is still literally one of our number one lead aggregators is personal brand building. So really being active on Facebook, really being active on other social channels, working your referrals. If you're using ProLine, use a referral campaign. Sending messages to old customers that you did a great job for. Hey, just wanted to touch base with you. I thought we did you a great job last year. Um, do you know anybody in your local network that may be needing a new roof anytime soon? We love referrals, blah, blah, blah. If you want to pay them, you can throw that in there. I don't pay for referrals, but if you want to, that's something maybe light a trigger on somebody. But yeah, I wouldn't get lost in the sauce and just go blow money on advertising. I've spent more money on bad advertising than I like to talk about, because advertising is a huge learning curve. It doesn't all work. It depends on where you're at. It depends on what you're trying to sell. It depends on the company you have and the presence that you currently have. If you have very little presence, there's a lot of ads that's just a waste of money. Go throw up 3 billboards for $3,000 a month in Omaha. The ROI is probably zero, and it's negative. Like you're not, it's just not worth it. Now for us, we've got a good brand. We've been in the market for a long time. we run a $5,000 billboard campaign in my area, I've got half the damn billboards covered up because they only cost $400 a month here, not $1,000 or $1,500 like I've seen in some cities. They do perform well for us. But we're dominating that one strategy of marketing that we found to work. We've done that with radio. We found out radio worked. We were literally the number one played ad on 6 different channels for like 2 years. So because it worked, I didn't run Facebook ads at all because I just lost my ass over and over on Facebook. But then I got, a friend down in Tampa, Florida who runs Facebook ads and absolutely crushes. So you got to test the waters before you just go spend, good money after bad.
Yep. That is absolutely great advice. All right, Abigail, I'm sending you a message here. We have a couple more minutes if anybody else has questions. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up. All right. Okay. I think we'll probably wrap up there. Thanks for all the good questions, guys. Make sure there's nothing in the Q&A section. Nope. Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you guys for joining, and thanks, Scott. We'll see everybody next week.
See ya.